Okay, so while I'm still working on recovering certain things from like undeleted partitions, I've been scouring around for different tools that I've been messing with to get the job done. So there are a couple that I've noticed that have had really good results. So the big one that I've been looking at more heavily is DMDE. It's basically the disk editor or a disk editor disk recovery tool that can look for different partitions on a disk and like find different files. I've been able to actually go through and find different files that I've had on my accidentally deleted drive using this tool pretty well. So the one caveat that I have with it is it looks like it's mostly proprietary. And on top of that, yeah, so no source code or whatever and all that. And on top of that, it's got a license fee. So the free edition lets you do everything a paid edition can, except for it limits you in like bulk file recovery. So you can only have like 4,000 files per directory, and you can only recover files from the directory in the panel. So if you've got like subdirectories in that directory, then you've got to go into each of those subdirectories and recover them in like at each level, which can be really inconvenient, but it does have other perks to it. So if you get like the Express 1 year, you get like a couple things. The standard personal and company use for your own needs, that's like $50, volume discounts, whatever. And then the professional lets you basically use it for commercial services, additional pro features, and so on. So when you're going into recovery, it'll give you the option to basically, enter a license in order to recover a whole directory and so on and so forth. So it's actually pretty nifty. Professional multi-use, so yeah. It is quite limiting in how it does things, but it is a paid tool. So when you go in, it's going to look about like this. This is the Windows interface. They've got, of course, Linux versions and so on. What I would recommend is downloading the beta version of it so that and yeah. So like I said, it's been doing pretty well, and you can go through and scan different volumes. I haven't got anything set up for scanning that, but that's kind of or set up on this computer. I've been using another computer so that I don't bog down my main system. But yeah. So the other one is Test Disk. This is kind of the first one that I really found good results with. And it's actually a terminal, a CLI tool that lets you work with it. So it all runs in the terminal, Windows, Linux, what have you, lets you undelete stuff, and it found partitions pretty easily from what I could tell. But I had a problem with, trying to undelete files, which it said it could do. But little did I know that had I gone through and actually gone in and properly, looked at the manual on it, I would have found that, hey, I can actually do a little bit more with this than I thought, like undeleting files if I actually did things and went into the right table. So we can go in and undelete. So if I go over, I can go, let me make sure, okay, let's unmount that. And then we will go to as test disk. Okay. So let's not worry about logging. So the drive we're looking at is the game drive. So it's going to be EFI GPT, and then we'll go into the file system utils, MS data, and so on. So let's see. Let us Okay, so that's all we have right there. So if we go back over, okay, so let's do, okay, undelete, no deleted files found. That is not cool. Oh, that's why, boot sector recovery. So undelete. So there's nothing there for us. But it has the capability of undeleting files. If we did a proper analysis, I think. Let's see. Where was exfat, I think. Okay. So analyze, we can do a quick search, and it'll go through and do the search. And basically it takes a while, and yeah, it can bog down the system pretty well. But it basically goes through and lets you recover partitions, write the partitions to disk, and so on. And then, so yeah, like I said, it does that. DMDE does the same thing, except it's got a GUI thing. If you pay for the license, you can like mass undelete or recover files and file fragments, which is what I found is a bunch of the files that I previously deleted. So if I were to go over to my other computer and boot it up, I'd be able to go through and show you like the different files that it has found from the previous partitions that I have not written over. And they're different like file fragments that have been found and so on that because of overriding that it's like it can see the directories, but some of the depth and all that isn't quite there. So yeah, I am going to go and figure out, so we can stop that. Yes. And then, so it found the EFI system, and then of course the MS data has been here for a while. So if I went through, it would have like a bunch of Linux partitions, and like I think I've said in other recordings as I've been exploring this, that that's probably either A, from Linux ISOs, or from the other Linux partition or files that it found otherwise. So I could go into like P here, and it's got a directory, EFI, boot, and so on. So I could exit through that and quit out here. I can go into P list files here, and it's got nothing. Let's go into P. So the reason it probably doesn't find files to undelete is because it doesn't have references to it directly in the file system references. So yeah. Yeah. So it's got all kinds of interesting things, and then we can go show off DMDE otherwise on top of that. Okay, so DMDE is distributed in a zip, as noted here, and then that's the executable. So basically, kind of halfway the best way to do it is to go into the downloads folder. I don't have my terminal properly configured, but you go in, you .slat, you've got a sudo your ./ and DMDE, and hopefully you've got a graphical way of opening it as root this way. But yeah, it's going to do its thing. Then you're going to type your password in, and then from there it's going to bring that up. So you can go devices, so on. So here's the game drive. I should have a log of it already, so it shouldn't have to like search too hard for stuff. So yeah, it doesn't have to redo the scan. And then we can open the volume, I believe. Run a full scan. Load. Full scan.log. Here we go. So it pulls up this whole log for us. And you can see that I've got various different partitions, exFAT partitions, which is kind of the targeted one that I was looking for. And if I were to open one, and these all fit kind of about the size of the way stuff was on the drive. So I can go into here. Here's like the main one that shows everything that I'm looking for. But if I were to go into like, say, and it's got a lot of like recognized file signatures. So if you have custom file signatures, which is what would be looking into as well for the ROMs that I had on here. And so you would go in and let's go with, where's MP4? MP4 MOV, MP4. So it's going to, or is it? So let's open that volume. It's going to take a second. It's going to open things up. You can see that it goes through and it can scan different directories. But yeah, so you'll be able to navigate through all these different files and actually recover them over into like, say, this folder over here. So I can go into here, and these are all files that I've recovered from this particular drive that it found. So I could go into like Traveler over here, which is freely available for the old standard version. I can open up the PDF here. Or not. So it may not be perfect. I think some of these got corrupted somewhere along the way, but I've got these all available in DriveThruRPG, so that's not too much of a biggie. So I could open up, some of these don't have their, yeah. So you can see it's not perfect. So yeah, don't expect it to be perfect at this point. As you can see, it recognizes the data, but it doesn't have everything for it, as noted. So I can go into here, I can see like, oh, okay, cool, ba-da-da-da-da, or up, ba-da-da-da. But yeah, you never know how it's gonna recover until you actually go through it and actually see what it's got in it. So you can see it's got like different files as well on top of it. So your mileage may vary. No promises, but it's when you have accidentally wiped a partition, it's possibly the best you can do. Okay, and with that, these are industry used tools. Again, mileage may vary, but if the industry recommends it, then it obviously has good results. So, or maybe has good results. No promises. But, with that, as always, since I don't have my intro recovered just yet, I am less than, not that one, less than 20 subs away from that 1,000. So give people, hit that subscribe button, give people more of an excuse to install certain extensions that shall not be named. And it's like literally right there. And given the traction that a bunch of like the last couple of videos have gotten, you guys are awesome.